Work hard if you want to be successful. Give your best to whatever you do, and the best will come back to you. All in favor?
From early morning council meetings and photo ops,
On your shoulders rests a great responsibility.
to an 8th grade graduation ceremony where she's mobbed by her constituents, young and old. It's not easy keeping up with Hazel McCallion, the tireless 89-year-old mayor of Mississauga. Leading Canada's 6th largest city, she's not too big to pick up garbage or run with the Olympic torch. She's been the mayor since 1978. The city she governs has grown from a sleepy bedroom community next to Toronto into a thriving metropolis, home to 61 Fortune 500 companies.
Well, I think way back in the 60s, Cadillac Fairview and Markwood, two very large developers, decided to come west of Toronto and look at all the farmland that was out here. They bought up farmland at, I guess, as low as $100 an acre, I remember. And they assembled large sections of land. You know, they really saw the future that development was going to occur west of Toronto. Now, some has occurred north as well, of course, but it seemed they were directing their investments to the west of Toronto, and Mississauga being right next was the logical area. And so large assemblies of land were acquired. And what was so good about it is that they put a plan on the large inventory that they had created, acquiring land. And as a result, there was a plan by both companies, both large companies, as to how the land would develop. And it was complete communities. Their plans included everything: industrial lands, office commercial, retail commercial, and of course residential. So it was a total plan. Those two plans had a lot to do with the development of Mississauga as a suburban community and a bedroom community, because in those days, people that moved out of Toronto to Mississauga they did not want to live in a high-rise. They wanted to live in a single-family home. So therefore, those two large developers planned to develop majorly single-family homes. Yes, they had sites that they indicated could be high-rise in the future, but they concentrated on building single-family homes and creating a community that catered to single-family homes. You know, cul-de-sacs, crescents, a lot of parkland. I mean, they were very generous with allocating parkland, trails, etc. I mean, that was the way the real development of Mississauga took place. Well, Orlando bought the large section of land that was acquired by the McLaughlin Group, and they became a major industrial commercial developer and have made, again, a major contribution to the development of Mississauga. So that's why we've been able to, as a city, build a pretty sound financial or economic base. You know, we're 62-38, 62 residential, 38 in commercial industrial, and the ideal is 60-40, so we're close to the ideal to try to keep the taxes down and provide the necessary services, both for residential as well as commercial and industrial. When we have an application for high-rise in front of council, we can fill the council chambers with people complaining about it. So that's why we've developed a plan that high density should not be all over the place. It should be very carefully located along major corridors and in the city core. We don't want to disturb the communities. I think the greatest thing is where high-rise has occurred and they want to expand, has also caused some problems. you know, we are the second highest density in the GTA next to Toronto. And so we've realized that in order to build an adequate transit system, we have to have the density. But we've very carefully tried to locate it where it doesn't impact already established neighborhoods. Very difficult to do it because, as you know, our decision is not final. It goes to the OMB, which is final. I think we've worked well with the developers and with the citizens. I think the focus groups that councillors have set up have been very helpful to get together citizens that will deal with the developer and the staff of the city. And as a result of those focus groups, I think we've been able to accommodate density in areas that were very controversial to begin with. All the greenfield, the large sections of greenfield, they've all been approved. Not all built yet, but approved. So now we're into redevelopment and infill. And it's more difficult to deal with redevelopment and infill than it is with the green acres. It's because people are concerned about the invasion into their community with something that is not quite the way that their community was developed in the first place. So it is, it's a challenge. But, you know, with the growth factors and with the intensification that the province is promoting, we work very hard. Our councillors and staff work very hard with the citizens to make sure that their concerns, maybe not all concerns are taken into account, but a large percentage of their concerns. I think that's the success of intensification, is the work done by the staff and the elected people to work with the citizens in cooperation with the developer. If the developer wouldn't cooperate, it does cause problems. But a developer that cooperates with becoming very much an active part of the focus groups, I think success usually is the end result. Our transit system is the key. We don't have an adequate transit system because you don't build a good transit system based on single-family homes. It's the density that allows you to create or to build a transit system. Until we are able to build that density that will justify a transit system, it's not easy to do it. You can't have buses running around residential areas where there's cul-de-sacs and crescents. Very difficult. And in fact, we've had examples where we put transit on a residential road to service a school, for instance, because of the demand. And we had to take it off because the citizens didn't want buses going up and down their street. So it's not easy to convert the city of Mississauga from a single-family home situation that was the way we developed into to build an adequate transit system. It's tough. Well, the property tax can't afford it. Simple as that. We're at a juncture in Canada that municipalities have got to be given more authority and more sustainable funding to discharge our responsibilities. Simple as that. We can't do it on the property tax. And yes, we've had development levies, but that's only for the capital cost of expansion of our systems to accommodate the growth. There's nothing in there for replacement of infrastructure. And so that ends up on the property tax. For instance, we project that we need so many billions in Mississauga to keep our infrastructure up to date, to do the replacement of our soft facilities like community centers, libraries, etc. These buildings get old. They need to be replaced or they need to be renovated. And you're not collecting any money for that. That goes straight onto the property tax. As the infrastructure in the city, we have to replace pipes. Pipes don't last forever. Water lines don't last forever. Sewer lines don't last. It's replacement. And that's all on the property tax. The only money we get from the developers is for the expansion of the services required to deal with the expansion. People think that it's to cover everything. It doesn't. It's very specific. Once it was legalized, we did it for years without the legislation, but once the legislation came in, it very specifically stated what development levies could be collected for. For instance, we never were able to get transit. We know, because we never had a transit system. The formula for development levies is very difficult to understand, very difficult to implement, and is constantly being challenged by the developers. Our last development increase is challenged, and we're now dealing with a new one, and we haven't had the answer on the old one yet. So it's very complicated. There's so many roadblocks put in the way of municipalities to make decisions that are beneficial to the city, to the financial status of the city, as well as the satisfaction of the citizens. People think we have a lot of authority, and we don't. Simple as that. Well, we've appealed to the federal government. There's no transportation strategy for this country. There's no housing strategy for this country. And until those two are developed, it's going to be very difficult for municipalities to discharge their responsibilities. We get assistance from the federal government and the provincial government in dribs and drabs. We don't know it's coming. We don't know when it's coming. We have no basis to do sound financial planning. It just isn't there. Municipalities are still children of the province. And we're forever asking for assistance because the property tax can't bear the costs. Climate change, ice storms, floods, you name it. It just can't handle it. And so here we are in a state of uncertainty. The municipalities are in a terrible state of uncertainty as to how we can discharge our responsibilities. And things have got to change. If it doesn't, where is the action? The action right across the country is at the local level. That's where things happen. That's where things are built. That's where the economy operates, is at the local level. It doesn't happen in the House of Commons or in Queen's Park. It happens right at the local level. As I explained, the three levels of government: federal government has all the money, province has all the authority, and local government has all the problems. We're not recognized in the Constitution as a level of government. We're children of the province. We can only do what the province allows us to do. Municipalities have grown up. They're into things that were never dreamed of in municipalities. We're into promotion. We're into promoting our economic base to provide jobs and to provide the necessary revenue from the industrial commercial that helps offset the residential taxes. We're now responsible for things that we never dreamed of before. Property taxes look after potholes, cut grass, remove snow, etc., those basic things. Now the property tax is called upon to deal with climate change, with the environment, with accessibility, with everything. And it can't bear the cost. Simple as that. So there has to be a major change on the authority of municipalities, the authority given to them, and the sustainable financing that they can plan for the future. We have no idea what's coming down the pike or what money is coming down the pike from the federal and provincial government. There's an election on now, and some of the things that we have negotiated with this government, gone. Don't know who's going to be elected, whether we have to go back and renegotiate. We're in a state of limbo constantly. The federal and provincial government has downloaded responsibilities. They make decisions that affects us. It affects us in the operation of our city, but no funding comes with it. No funding comes to help us. They, in regard to treatment of sewage, they rule how it's to be done. New methods of dealing with sewage is very technical and requires systems that the property tax can't afford. So we need, it's changed greatly because the responsibilities of municipalities have greatly increased. No additional authority and no additional funding to do it. Simple as that. To build a city for the good of the people that live in the city, we've provided the basic services in all our communities that the citizens use every day. Secondly, we built a very sound economic base that provides jobs if they wish to choose to live and work in the city. And so we've looked after families that have moved to Mississauga. And to me, that is, we didn't build all big facilities like the art facilities and sports facilities that maybe other municipalities have until we were satisfied that the basic daily needs of the citizens were looked after. Then we went with the Living Arts Center and Hershey Center. But only after we were felt convinced that we had looked after the everyday basic needs of the citizen. I think what is also important, that the citizens that come from all parts of the world have been welcomed into our city and encouraged to integrate into all aspects of the community life. Just being mayor of Mississauga for 35 years, the wonderful people I've met, the satisfaction I've received on serving them and meeting them and encouraging them, motivating our youth to take an active part in all citizens take an active part. And I'm so delighted with the volunteer response in the city. Oh yes, there's been some over the years. I can't remember them all, but it's over 35 years is a long period.
Okay, now Hazel, we're out in front of City Hall. You have an ice rink, but you're not doing this just because we're here.
Sometimes I go down to an arena in the daytime and get a hockey stick and a puck and get out on a sheet of ice all by myself.
You were a hockey player.
Yes.
You were a professional hockey player.
In Montreal.
You played for the Habs. And so you were a part of a professional women's hockey team.
Yeah, that's right. I was paid $5 a game.
Was that good money?
It was in those days.
You got the skates in the trunk of the car.
I keep them in the trunk of the car because when I go to drop a puck, they want me to put my skates on and circle around, you know. They love to see the mayor on skates.
When Stephen Harper drops a puck, he doesn't put the skates on.
Oh, well, yeah.
When politicians drop the puck, they don't put the skates on.
Oh, they're too old.
Have you ever been injured?
No.
Other than being hit by a truck?
Yeah.
You were hit by a truck, Hazel.
That's right.
What happened?
Well, I was crossing the road in Streetsville, and this truck came around the corner, and he didn't see me, so he hit me, and down I went.
And how long ago was this?
2 years ago.
And you were okay?
Oh, sure.
And what happened to the truck?
It went in for repair. Well, I think they have to understand that when they want to intensify in the city, they've got to be concerned that the people were here in the established communities, and that the invasion of high density is something they're concerned about. But I think if they show their concern and are prepared to work with the staff of the city and with the councillors and with the mayor and with the citizens, that a lot can be accomplished. But they got to sit down and be prepared to answer the questions. You can't please all the people all of the time, but if you make an effort to do it, I think you have a chance of meeting with success. So my advice to the developers is you got to recognize that when you're trying to insert something into a community that has been established for years, that you have to go out of your way to try to make the people feel somewhat happy with what you're doing. It's not easy, but it must be done. Yes, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss working with the administration at the city. I've been blessed with fantastic staff over the years. I've been blessed with councils that in a majority have wanted to give the services to the people at the lowest cost possible. Blessed with the volunteers that have come forward to help us build a great city, and to the developers that have worked with us as well. No one person can do it alone. It's a team approach, and the team wins.